Hi, so Sandeep, you're involved in the, is it not Late Night Lunacy, that's next door. This is a hackathon, isn't it?
Hackathon. Yeah, so I think this is the third hackathon that I've done. First one, yeah, first one for my current company, which is Condé Nast. But yeah, I used to be with Access Group. The guy's actually behind us right now, so yeah.
That's why they volunteered you then, wasn't it?
That's actually my coworker over there who, wants me to talk, I guess, about this a little bit.
So what did it involve then? What did you have to do?
Sure. So we got the data files from Click. So they sent us, here's all the data on. Well, actually, let me backtrack to this. So basically, the UN has a bunch of data on flights that their members are taking, and they've calculated about what the carbon impact is. And the whole idea here is we are BI professionals, so we build a lot of apps that center around kind of trying to figure out how to lower expenses and costs and things like that. In this case, we're not really looking at lowering expenses, we're looking at lowering carbon emissions. So it's just how can we build an app to analyze where it is that the UN can cut back their carbon emissions to meet their goal of being carbon neutral.
So did you get any insight out of the data then?
Sure, yeah, I got some. It was basically that, so there's a couple of things. So cutting out a lot of the shorter flights, especially those with connections. So there was a lot of, so I kind of tried to look for the most common flight paths that are very short flights, because shorter flights means that you have very high amount of emissions per mile traveled. Because taking off and landing kind of are the greatest.
That's where all the work's done, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Because they are based out of New York, coming in and out of JFK, going to Boston, going to Washington, D.C., those were really high occurring flight. There's just a large frequency of those kind of flights. And so by trying to cut back on those kind of flights and taking the rail, the Amtrak is very useful right there. Also in Europe, they actually have way better rail systems than we do in terms of just sort of carbon.
The UK doesn't. They got terrible rail systems.
Actually, and in fact, the UK they can't really do much because they still have to fly over the channel, right? So, but there's a lot of travel coming, from mainland Europe, going through France and Spain and everything, and there's no reason that those have to be flights, right?
Excellent. Yeah.
Carbon efficient rail.
So not only is it good because you're showcasing Click, is it Click Core you use?
Yes, so I did use Click Core and I built a native product. So this is an application that you can actually install on your desktop, so you can use it to track your own flights. And I have a map in there that'll show all the different connections that you've taken on any one of your itineraries, and it'll show some flights where people were doing things like flying from JFK to Delhi to Paris, back to Delhi, back, and it's there's no reason to be doing that. It's obviously a lot more carbon efficient to go from JFK to Paris to Delhi than going back.
That's crazy. Well, yeah. Good luck, and I hope it worked out. I hope you win, obviously, because it'll be the best app, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure I will be, yeah.
Thank you so much for spending the time. Right, so welcome. This is Richie, Rich, and Michael from the Axis Group, and we've got the hackathon tonight. So what's the premise about it?
So the premise is to take a look at the flight data from the last year of United Nations flights. We've got lots of categories, destinations, and the goal is to really try to begin to provide some analysis and some capabilities using Click to allow the United Nations to make better decisions on where they're going to fly their people to reduce their carbon footprint from travel.
So did you actually find anything out with the data? Did you get any insight?
There were some things that we looked into that kind of made sense as you dug into them a little bit. We did find some things like routes that seemed so short that they might be drivable, that might be good alternatives. There were a few little things like that. One thing I would say that it did was just generally raising our awareness about the CO2 emissions from air travel. And that actually led us to build in this kind of calculator where you would specify where people are coming from who need to meet, and how many people are coming from each city, and then we can provide information based on that to figure out what meeting location would have the fewest CO2 emissions to meet there.
Oh, excellent, excellent. So you developed it on ClickCore then, didn't you? So do you do, as a company, do you do that a lot? Do you use ClickCore?
I was having trouble here. It's about ClickCore?
Yeah, ClickCore.
Right. Well, we use ClickCore a lot in our work. You know, we've been using the Kix engine on a lot of our projects. We've used it in the last few hackathons as well. You know, it's so flexible the way that we can use it that it really makes a lot of sense in a lot of situations.
Well, thank you, gents. I won't keep you any more. Good luck. And hopefully you'll be having that belt this time. So thank you. And I know we've had a lot of fun recording this. And finally we got it in the can. Hallelujah. Thank you. And enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care. So, Radovan, you're doing the late night lunacy. So what does that entail apart from being a lunatic?
It entails we had to understand what is the requirement, what kind of data we have. Had to analyze the data a little bit, understand them, and then come up with some kind of recommendations, I guess.
So what was the data then?
The data was about flights of UN employees.
Oh, it's the same as what they're doing next door then. So you had the same thing, but you didn't use ClickCore, you put it into ClickSense.
Yes, we just use the regular Sense, and we have an application in a ClickSense. Yeah.
Did you find out anything new? Was there anything you thought, well, you know, I wasn't aware that would happen? I know someone's saying next door about the short flights and so on. Is there anything you found out from the data?
Well, data was quite new for me, so it was pretty interesting for me as a whole, because I actually didn't know that there is something like offset, CO2 offset, that companies pay that kind of stuff. So it was pretty new for me, and yeah, there is interesting analysis that you can do with it, with like what is the distance of each route when you segment the itineraries of the flight. So there's interesting analysis also with calculating the trends per different dimensions. So we played, we played with it a little bit, so we'll see.
So, well, good luck, that's all I can say. And how's Connections been so far?
It's amazing. It's an amazing event. It's my 4th Connections.
Oh, is it really 4?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And there is always so much energy and always new information which we bring back. So, and can think about and you know, incorporate in our offering and stuff like that.
The Attunity thing's quite interesting. Did you see any of that? Have you had a look at that at all?
That's pretty new for me as well. I heard about it, but now today I saw it first time on the main stage, and it's really interesting. I'm looking forward to get my hands dirty with that. Yeah.
I agree. So I'm just saying what company you are. I'm going to shout out first. EMARK, and you're the technical director. Well, thank you so much for spending some time and talking to me, and now I'm going to leave you alone, get back to your beer and get back to your app. Thank you very much.
All right.
Right, well, welcome. And this is Click Late Night Lunacy, isn't it? So you've been building an app based on UN data. How did you find that?
How did we find the event?
Yeah, building the app itself. Did you find an insight?
It was cool. We took multiple data sources. Well, first looked at what the data was there, made some insights, and drew some conclusions about joining the data together, and then threw it into an app and started exploring.
So did you found anything out interesting from the data by looking at it?
So one of the quick things that we found was actually a lot of UN members taking Class A flights, and that actually corresponds to a larger carbon footprint. So there's a lot of opportunity to take sort of your Class B or coach and you know, save the Earth a little bit.
One other thing that I don't know if you noticed this, because I was in the other room as well, and they're doing exactly the same thing, same data, but they're using ClickCore. And one other thing they were saying about the amount of very short flights, because it has a disproportionate carbon footprint, doesn't it?
Right. So we've seen a lot of flights, you know, less than 300 miles or something. So that may be a case where you'd want to take a train or a car, some sort of alternative form of transport.
So have you been, Andrew? Have you been to Connections before? Or is this your first?
This is my first time, actually. Yep.
How have you found it?
Excellent. Yeah, I found the breakout sessions to be awesome. I found the general sessions to be awesome. It's cool to see what's coming out with the products and everything. It's been neat.
So I've been very remiss and not introduced you. So Jeffrey Phillips and data scientists. Data scientists are very rare, you know.
And it's up and coming. Yeah, happy to be here. Really enjoying the event so far. Very inspiring, seeing what other people have done with Click. So, just great to be here.
And your Agilent Technologies. So what do you do as a company? And obviously, Click, you use Click, but is there what other stuff do you do?
So it's a biotech company in Wilmington, Delaware. They make like GCs, LCs, gas spectrometry machines. So it's really life science based, chemical analysis. Really, they touch every aspect of the world, from cancer research to air quality, water quality, stuff along those lines. And we work in the services division. So really, we're helping district managers utilize their engineers better. And we're also helping business process owners streamline their processes and make them more efficient.
Well, I know you're both itching to get back to get your app ready because you've got to present in time. Thank you so much, both of you, for spending the time. Thank you. Okay, Victoria, KPMG Journey. I mean, this is late night lunacy. Can you tell us a little bit about what the project entails?
Sorry?
What the project entails? What have you been asked to do?
Okay, what we were asked to do, we have a project with the UN, and we got data about CO2 contribution and data about Amex data of the people working at the UN, and they want to have to increase their it's that, and they want to see analytics where they can improve it, and then they say insights on how they travel our can.
So what did you learn then by looking at the data?
It was really interesting. What I thought was really, really interesting was that they do a lot of business trips and business class trips. So
that's quite surprising, isn't it? You wouldn't have thought it.
No, and they have some other data where they say, oh, it's really bad using business class trips, and what's funny, and that a lot of families coming with there when they're traveling, especially to nice locations like Mauritius or something.
Well, there you go. You do get some insights. So now, how long did it take you to build?
We were really late getting the information right, but some days we took with the whole team, thinking about what we can do there. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Victoria, for getting involved. Good luck, and hopefully you'll win the prize. Well, is there a prize?
Yeah, there is something. Yeah.
Nice. Well, good luck, and I hope it goes. Thank you for spending the time with it. Thank you, Victoria.